Quickly, tell me if you've heard about this show before. Mayonakapunch. If you haven't, don't worry. You probably haven't heard of the show, actually. I myself hadn't heard of it while it was airing until it was recommended to me by a friend. Sadly, I wasn't able to find the time to add this to the list of shows I was watching this past anime season while it was airing, but since the wait for Kingdom Hearts 4 is taking several years off my lifespan because that game clearly just doesn't exist, I sat down and gave this show its rightful shot, which ended up being one of the best decisions I recently could have made, as I instantly fell in love with it to the point that I binged the entire show in a single sitting. Its strong visual and artistic direction, coupled with a deeply personal message about content creation, made the show genuinely fantastic. It's a show that really resonated with me on a personal level, as an aspiring creator myself. I love Mayonakapunch, as you can clearly tell, and today I wanted to talk about just why Mayonakapunch is something that any aspiring creator should take notes from, and just why it's something I can't seem to get off my mind lately. One of the things that makes Mayonakapunch so engaging first and foremost is its initial premise and how the series builds upon it to tell something very heartfelt and genuine. Now, the actual premise of the show itself is pretty simple and small in scope. Mayonakapunch follows Masaki, a former content creator, or for the show's sake, NewTuber, who was kicked out of her content creation circle due to creative differences, or more specifically, that she punched one of her friends in the face. In comes looooooove, a vampire who wants to find the girl of her dreams, believing that to be Masaki. You can already tell where this is going. And in Masaki trying to branch out on her own and restore her reputation, the two cross paths, with them coming to a mutual agreement to help one another fulfill their respective goals. looooooove helps Masaki to be able to reach 1 million subscribers in some sort of fashion, and in return, looooooove gets to suck her blood. And from here, we end up meeting the rest of the main cast in Ichiko, Fu, Yuki, and Tokage, who I all love dearly, and they all bounce off of each other really well despite their opposing personalities. You've got the shy and introverted character in Fu, the gambler in Tokage, the serious gamer in Yuki, and the small one in Ichiko, who doesn't have a single brain cell going on in there. Mayonakapunch is kinda like Call of the Night, except with themes surrounding content creation and a whole lot of Yuri. Like I said, it's a very simple concept for a show, but there is always a level of complexity to simplicity. The first episode does a fantastic job at illustrating very real-world situations and circumstances through its fantastical elements and direction. Masaki being forced to confront the millions of people all across the world that share in their respective hatred of her, and how the internet tends to be a cesspool of negativity due to the lack of limitations regarding what people can say and how people tend to express their opinions and feelings, and that sometimes people can only express their admiration through hatred, regardless of whether or not you are personally affected by negativity on the internet. Chances are, if you've seen a negative comment before on a social media platform, it's stuck around in your head for a bit, or at the very least you've thought about it before. And negativity in a larger wave can have a very dangerous effect on a person's mental state, as this, among many other things, leads to Masaki developing a trauma of being seen by others and causes her to develop very self-destructive feelings and a very self-destructive mindset that borders on the lines of suicidal at times, which is shown by her simply accepting her fate when she accidentally falls off a building. And this is why her dynamic with looooooove is so strong from the outset, because looooooove saves her from herself, not just here, but several times during the show through her constant show of support and how she gives her a second chance to chase her dreams and change her fate, even if Masaki's trauma causes her to stay behind the scenes for most of the show. The relationship between looooooove and Masaki truly shines above all else in Mayonakapunch because of how looooooove acts as Masaki's emotional crutch in all the moments where Masaki begins to doubt herself and push herself beyond what she's capable of handling on her own. Despite being a representation of the supernatural, it's this vampiric entity that helps ground Masaki and keeps her from destroying herself in totality. The two bounce off of each other really well, producing strong banter and great comedic moments that persist throughout the whole show. This isn't only the case between these two, but the whole cast at large. But following this is where Mayonakapunch truly becomes fascinating, as it demonstrates such a strong fundamental understanding regarding the pros and cons of content creation. It would be way too easy for looooooove and gang to grow using their vampiric abilities, and they immediately have to start from scratch after just getting off the ground due to the threat that recording their powers has in exposing the existence of vampires to regular society. Viva and gang need to learn how to properly make engaging videos with barely any prior knowledge to go on, all so that they can captivate an audience and build a sustainable platform from nothing, making use of analytics and an outside understanding of the algorithm in order to reach 1 million subscribers. Things especially take a turn for the worse when the pressure is piled on to reach 1 million subs in only 6 months due to the mother of all vampires seeing the main crew's actions as detrimental to their coexistence with humanity, but ultimately decides to give them a time limit to prove themselves anyway. From the perspective of a creator myself, so many elements of the show hit dangerously close to home. Masaki's self-imposed pressure to make something of herself and this channel with her friends in a short amount of time. That feeling that it's all or nothing, given how it's really up to chance and a swing of the pendulum regarding whether or not you can succeed. Wanting to sort of stick it to the people that doubted you before. Wanting your creative vision to be seen so much that you inevitably lose sight of why you wanted to become a creator in the first place. You get lost in yourself and the need to appeal to analytics and the algorithm so much that even your creative vision becomes blurred, and your understanding of why content creation is such an enjoyable occupation to pursue becomes diluted. And just as much, the feelings that Masaki suppresses within herself as she stands from the sidelines about wanting to be seen by others, that desire for affirmation and to know that you are loved and not only hated, is so powerful, it's so real. But even more than that is how the show also understands that at the end of the day, content creation isn't solely about succeeding based on numbers, but having fun doing it. That enjoying yourself should be the first and foremost priority in why you create to begin with. Content creation, above all else, is a form of self-expression, a way to be your innermost self, and embrace the side of yourself that most people tend to suppress on a daily basis. Outside of them having to hide their vampiric abilities on camera, content creation gives the gang an opportunity to be completely and unequivocally themselves, and provides them a way to interact with humanity and bridge the gap between vampires and humans, even if they aren't totally aware of their true nature to begin with. The production of a video may be what attracts an audience, but the personality of a creator is what causes those same people to stick around. This idea of getting to be who you are on the inside ended up being most apt with Fu, who was my favorite character in the entire show by far. It's established very early in the first episode that vampires can only act at night, as any form of sunlight shining on them causes them to instantly ignite in flames. But Fu is the character where we see this plot point become an integral element of her character and her development, as we see that in the past, Fu wanted to become a professional singer alongside her friend Aya due to their mutual love of music. Although she was consciously aware that this was not a career path she could pursue long term, and that she should ultimately give up on a dream that had no hopes of coming true, her love for music and her desire to succeed alongside a friend leads to her joining her in an audition, but the grim reality of her circumstances leads to her having to abandon her, and the guilt and trauma from this event leads to her suppressing her love of singing and music from anybody else. But when Masaki and the gang come up with the idea to feature song covers on their channel, this gives Fu the opportunity and confidence to reconcile her feelings and embrace her true self and finally sing in front of an audience. It's an incredibly moving episode and is easily one of the 3 best episodes of the whole show in my opinion. So many elements of the show speak to me on a very personal level because this heavily reflects my own experience with making videos. Over the course of the last year, I've made some pretty great strides in my opinion in finding my voice and cadence, but sometimes you want to speedrun the entire experience of growing into your own once you have an understanding of the formula it takes to make it and the audience that your videos attract. In theory, you should try to attract more of that same audience, but in that same right, you don't want to appeal to only one subsection of fans of a particular form of media, but rather you want your voice to be heard by everyone, to let everyone know that you have a myriad of passions. This is something I have a full understanding of myself, but sometimes I question whether or not offhand videos that don't cover a particular topic will do well enough. But at the same time, once you have enough of an audience that will listen to you no matter what you put out, at a certain point, it doesn't matter, even if the views and income aren't what they will be on other videos. You know this, but sometimes you tend to forget all the same. It's in moments like these, it's good to have people that will support you no matter what you do or how much you tend to stumble and lose your way. Connections are truly the most important elements of content creation because despite the sporadic nature of these characters' actions, they are completely capable of thinking about each other and acting in each other's best interests. And they help to remind Masaki herself that no matter what, they're with her for the long haul and will be there to support her no matter how many times she messes up or whether or not her bad personality shines through. It's genuinely hard to build something from nothing, to make high quality, consistently great videos that people will always enjoy on a regular basis, because at the end of the day, there will always be people that hate you. The well will always run dry eventually, and you'll need to pivot to something else that people aren't always consciously aware of, or they just don't really care about. And it's in these moments of self-doubt that the people that act as our lifeline, those that stand by us when we try to build a platform out of nothing, they help pick us up from the depths of despair and help guide us back towards the light. And it's this, among many other things I've already mentioned, that makes Mayonakapunch so special to me, even after only having watched it a week ago. Mayonakapunch is a show that at its core has a deep understanding of why it's so difficult to get your foot in the door when it comes to content creation. But if it just so happens that the pendulum does swing your way, there will always be people that stand by you. The day ones that choose to subscribe to you over the hundreds and thousands of YouTube channels that promote misinformation, those are going to be the ones that stand by you no matter how many breaks you take or how many bad videos you put out, because at the end of the day, they recognize your potential. Those and the real friends that choose to stick by you because they know that you're good at this. They know that you have a voice that can reach hundreds to thousands of people, and they know that you have what it takes to make something of yourself in something that you're very passionate about. Mayonakapunch is something that all aspiring creators and people alike should watch and take notes from. In the dead of night, beneath the moon and the stars, it's this story about these two idiots and their friends wanting to make videos that has genuinely affected me more than other stories have.